ICAO History. It was realised before World War I that the aeroplane added a new dimension to transport, which could not be contained within national confines. In 1910, the first important conference on international air law was held in Paris, where the principles governing aviation were laid down. The years between the two world wars were marked by the continuous growth of civil aviation in both technical and commercial fields. The Chicago Convention. During World War II, significant technical and operational advances were made. At the end of World War II, it was concluded that post-war civil aviation problems should be tackled on an international scale, or it would not be possible to use aviation as a principal element in the economic development of the world. In 1944, at a conference in Chicago, the Convention on International Civil Aviation, the Chicago Convention, was signed. ICAO itself came into being on the 4th of April, 1947. Purpose of ICAO: to develop international civil aviation in a safe and orderly manner so that international air transport services may be established on the basis of equality of opportunity and operated soundly and economically. Aims of ICAO: standardization, the establishment of international standards, recommended practices and procedures governing the technical fields of aviation, for example licensing of personnel, rules of the air, operation of aircraft, nationality and registration marks, airworthiness. Regional planning, the establishment of supplementary procedures to deal with problems which may be region-specific. Law, unifying influence in the development of a code of international air law. Facilitation, technical cooperation, development of future air navigation systems, and economics. Air navigation. A contracting state is a state which is a signatory to the Chicago Convention. Important concepts. Every state has sovereignty over the airspace above its territory. Aircraft which are not engaged in scheduled international air services have the right to make flights or transit stops into the territory of other states without prior permission. Scheduled international air services need permission to operate over or into territory of another state. States have the right to refuse foreign carriers permission to move traffic for remuneration between 2 points in their territory. Flights into and out of states must be operated via customs airports unless otherwise authorized. Laws and regulations of a state regarding admission departure from its territory must be applied to aircraft of all states without distinction. Rules of the air must be adhered to by all aircraft, and each state should endeavour to keep regulations uniform with those established by ICAO. States have the right to search aircraft of other states on landing departure, includes inspection of certificates. Certificate of airworthiness is required for international flights. Crew of aircraft engaged in international navigation must be licensed. Munitions of war may not be carried above or into another state except by permission of that state. Documents to be carried on international flights: certificate of registration, certificate of airworthiness, crew licenses, journey logbook, radio station license, passenger list and place of embarkation destination, and a cargo manifest. States should undertake to adopt international standards and recommended practices, SARPS. States not in compliance with ICAO SARPS must notify ICAO of such differences. SARPS. A standard has a mandatory specification. A recommended practice is desirable but not essential. PANS is Procedures for Air Navigation Services, mainly operating practices which amplify basic principles in corresponding SARPS. There are 5 main freedoms of the air under the Air Transit Agreement. Freedom 1 is overflight from A to C. Freedom 2 is landing at B for non-traffic purposes. Freedom 3 is putting down of traffic in B taken on in A. Freedom 4 is picking up traffic in B destined for A. And Freedom 5 is onward flight, picking up traffic in B and putting down in C. International agreements. The Warsaw Convention is the liability of the air carrier to passengers. The Rome Convention is the liability of the carrier towards persons or property on the ground. The Tokyo Convention is offences against penal law and other acts committed on board aircraft. The Hague Convention is unlawful seizure of aircraft. And the Montreal Convention concerns unlawful acts against the safety of civil aviation. Leasing. Dry lease, the aircraft lease does not include flight crew. Wet lease, the aircraft lease includes flight crew.
A lease is a contractual arrangement whereby a properly licensed air operator gains commercial control of an entire aircraft without transfer of ownership. A lessor is the party from which the aircraft is leased, whereas a lessee is the party to which the aircraft is being leased. A dry lease agreement involves an agreement between undertakings pursuant to which the aircraft is operated under the AOC of the lessee. A wet lease agreement, on the other hand, is an agreement between air carriers pursuant to which the aircraft is operated under the AOC of the lessor. A damp lease is a wet leased aircraft that includes a cockpit crew but not cabin attendants.
The ICAO Annexes. Annex 1 is personal licensing. 2. Rules of the air. 3. Meteorology. 4. Charts. 5. Units and measurements. 6. Operations. 7. Registration markings. 8. Airworthiness. 9. Facilitation. 10. Telecommunications. 11. Air traffic services. 12. Search and rescue. 13. Accidents. 14. Aerodromes. 15. Aeronautical Information Service. 16. Environmental protection. 17. Security. 18. Dangerous goods. And 19. Safety management system.